Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Tuesday, the 30th of January. We got some bigger earnings reports out of the way. It doesn't seem like they're that big of movers, but I will go over them regardless. And also, I think there's some interesting themes that are kind of popping up now that we've got some big earnings reports coming out, but just, watching how some of these companies are reacting to some of their reports. We're really putting together a pretty detailed earnings gap strength list at this point. I think after today, and I haven't added everything to today's list or this the earnings list, but I think we've got about close to about 30 names at this point that are essentially like really strong earnings reactions, and I'll go through some of the new ones today with you. First things first, everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Please read the full risk disclaimer there, but yes, the video is for information purposes only. So where do we start with? I guess I'll go through some of the broad takeaways from today. Decent, of course, yesterday was a decent move. The market breadth, or what I tend to look at, up volume, down volume, that got better and better as the day went on yesterday. Today, we kind of backed off from that. Now, the breadth did not close the worst levels of the day, but you can look at this on the bottom of our screen. We have an indicator that kind of measures up volume versus down volume, and you can kind of see this is where we were around 10:30 in the morning. Things got better around 1 o'clock, but overall just not a lot of huge buying going on, or continuous buying going on. It was more of a distribution day. So we've got the S&P kind of moving down here a little bit. We can also, let me just see if I wanted to hit any other bullets here. I'll go over the sector performers in just a minute, but here I'll go through the 1 hour value areas. Yesterday we of course started the week. All three of the indices started the week inside its value area for the week, and we rallied, but we're kind of coming back in a little bit. Maybe we have some type of a retest. S&P has a little bit further down to get to. S&P futures, that level is 49.19. Qs, I think, are a different picture. They now have gone to an underperformer for the week. They did get above the value area too, but they were just kind of giving that back for a good portion of the session. So I think, looking at this Qs chart, and first of all, we're not below the value area for the week. We're just inside, which means range bound. But I would be okay with this group, with the Qs overall, just kind of coming in a little bit and letting some other areas of the market lead a little bit, because I think some names, they're just stretched to the upside, right? And when I go over Microsoft and Google, you should get a clear picture of that, what I'm referring to. Now, here's IWM. I actually tried to trade IWM a little bit today, but I just realized that the market just most likely wasn't going to have too much momentum, so I just got rid of the trade. But for now, right, you've got a little bit of relative strength going on in the small caps, and they're holding above the value area for the week. So just like S&P, but it looks like they already tested this 197 and are holding. So I think that will be interesting. Then just to look at what the Dow is doing too. I saved the best for last. The Dow has really been moving to the upside, and when you look at the groups that outperform, look at this move in the Dow, just continuing to make a new high. So very strong there. And if you break down the Dow, because it's easy, it's only 30 names, right? And you look at the performers, you got the banks were very strong today. Also Visa is back. I think that's back out to new highs. The insurance companies have been super strong. They've been one of the strongest areas of the market that nobody really cares about, or nobody talks about as much as they should, I should say. You've got energy, you've got some industrials in there, and you still have Boeing in there, which weighed down the group, down 2.3% for the day, but a lot more names moving up there. All right, so let me go through the couple of names that reported earnings, and then I will get to kind of the themes of the day. But yeah, this is kind of tough, and I've had a weighting of I've had a holding of Microsoft in the what's called the TTG trend portfolio, right, which is a longer tiered, longer geared portfolio. But I actually reduced. I took half the position off in Microsoft today. I just don't know where, logically where it goes, from here in terms of like if it has further upside. I just thought it stretched. Do I think it's a very strong company and it's got a very strong trend? Absolutely. But in the short term, I mean, come on, it's up so much at this point. So I don't even think it's really moving too much after hours. And don't forget to give guidance on the conference call. But it's just up a lot, and it is a better name, I think, to hold than it is to try to trade. Remember, like, I know, Dan, this is my second Jim Cramer reference of the day, so I know some people are fans. Some people are fans of Jim Cramer, some are not. Doesn't matter. But what I was referring to is he's talked about Apple, like don't trade it. It's a name to hold. I kind of feel that way about Microsoft. It just doesn't move that much to try to really position in it for big gains for like, intraday type trading. By the way, Apple, we can kind of look at Apple, again, had some difficulty here and made a lower high. So this is going to report on Thursday after the close, but doesn't look like the strongest feel here for Apple making a lower high in there. But regardless, the trend is still up, moving up into the right there. The other name I was going to go through, I'll go through two more, but Google. Same thing. They're extended, right? I mean, very nice break of above 140, right? And this thing's sitting here at 152. The stock did almost came in and took out this VPOC. My thought is maybe that might be a good buy point in here around 142, but we'll have to see what happens, how the stock reacts if it does get down there. And then AMD did not report good numbers. So this is kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of deja vu all over again. It kind of reminds me a little bit of last quarter. I didn't think AMD had really good numbers last time around. Their revenues they missed, right? And or their guidance is missing. So again, there's probably more focus, just like last time, on what they're developing, what their new chip is going to be, and those types of things, and expectations about more new things that are coming out. So I think that's why it's holding in there. And people are probably evidenced by just looking at the price action. People have probably been waiting for a little bit of a dip in AMD, but I would rather let this group settle down a little bit. And I'm kind of grouping AMD, even though it's a semiconductor, with those other two names. But yeah, I mean, a move down to the 20-day moving average, that would make sense to me. A couple other, so if we look at some of the names that are moving after hours, just to kind of cover a couple more than just the big guys. You got a couple good, Stryker, right? You don't normally see this name up that much, but this is a really nice looking breakout here in Stryker, right? This is a medical device company. Look at the nice methodical move here. So not really extended, right? And the stock is up decently here. So starting to see more of these medical device companies act better, right? For a while, for about a year, the medical device group just wasn't acting very well. Still has a lot of work to do, right? It's putting in some accumulation, or putting in some consolidation here for the overall group. But I think you can kind of go one by one and pick out some names in this group. ISRG has been acting fairly decent. Other names that are doing well after hours, Skyworks is up, Manhattan Associates. So I think that's another software name. Starbucks is actually up. Perhaps the bad news is there's enough bad news priced into that stock. Looks like Floor and Decor is up too. But again, I think you're going to see more names down today. Of course, they count Google twice. Datadog also is down a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about some of the names that moved today and had these big moves. So I think what's really interesting, I'll kind of start with the overall industrial group, because I see more and more industrials that are on like the 4-week new high list, as well as on the 52-week high list. Let me show you what I'm referring to. So I've got this nice screen in Bloomberg, which I send out daily on my my Substack page, and you can find my Substack page at what is it again? ttgtrading.substack.com. Right, there's a free you could get a lot of information just from the free version, but you can also, it's a small fee to pay for a monthly fee, but you could check it out for 7 days free. But I try to get as much information to traders and investors' hands, like within the matter of like 1 minute. You could get a really good feel about what's happening for the day, as well as what the most important themes and, in my opinion, what the most important charts are for the day. So check it out at that Substack address. Again, you can get a 7-day free trial so that you can also see all of those things, plus my weekly watch lists, as well as my positions. Right, you can see exactly how I'm executing for the day. But yeah, I mean, take a look. Another group that's been really interesting is, before I even get to the industrials, but AutoZone, Orly, those names are breaking out. But here's where we get into kind of the industrials, right? Granger is in there. Keep going down the list a little bit. I think Caterpillar was in here too. TT is in here, ITW. So more and more names. CMI, which is, I think, more of a transport name, kind of half transport, half industrial name. MTD is another name too, Mettler Toledo. So here's industrials, right? They're just kind of sitting here right below that that top of value. And then the equally weighted ETF, which I forget what this thing is. They changed these symbols on here, and they made them and they made them very difficult. Let me just X out of this here. There we go. RSPN. That almost sounds like ESPN. RSPN. Right. So this is the equally weighted industrial ETF. So rather than, market cap weighted like the industrials ETF, but I just like the fact that we're seeing more participation up here. And then in addition to this, you had the steel names. Look at the move in Nucor today. I mean, that's, people were expecting this stuff out of tech, right, to see a 7% move. This is a steel name up 10% today. Right, this was Cliffs Resources, was up 6.5% today. Right, another name, Hubble, right, also broke out to new highs today. So I think that it would be one thing, in my opinion, if tech takes a little bit of a break and the market just kind of falls apart. But I think that there's a lot of other areas that are showing strength. And I think that, one of the things that I try to do is basically not just stick to hot software names or, small cap growth names, right? I'll trade whatever looks good on a chart, rather than just, I see too many traders that just pigeonhole themselves into, hey, I'm only going to look at these hot growth names, right? Well, the market's not always going to reward the super hot growth names, and I have them on my list too, right? And I trade those names too. But I think you have to be able to kind of, pivot a little bit, to take advantage of some of the other, exciting things going on. Fastenal was one name that reported earnings a couple weeks ago, right? Just like you see the same pattern on the growth stock too, right? Breakout coming in, price kind of retaking the moving averages, right? It's just another, company that's also, there's nothing wrong with trading some of these industrial names that are acting really well, right? SYY, so Cisco, not the artist, not the tech company, but this is Cisco, a food company. All right, so these names, even the consumer staples, which I know are boring names, right? But you can find some things that are of interest, like even like a Hershey is making a nice move, right? And then of course, so we talked a lot about industrials. We talked about the steel names, right? We talked about a couple other areas. Also, what's been really making a nice move is energy. Energy's had this nice move. Now, if you look at this chart in energy, you're going to see that what looked like, probably a false breakdown in the energy ETF and moving back up. Right. And I know like PSX has been my favorite company in the group, right? We're long this in the TTG trend portfolio. It's going to report earnings tomorrow. But again, I mean, look at the breakout in this one, right? Which brings me to another refining name, which this MPC was just kind of, going, um, sideways for a bit, right? And these are the better earning setups in my opinion, not the energy group, but just watching a name basically go sideways, right? And then into earnings, having good earnings and then just blasting off like this to new highs. And the whole group is strong. Valero added to gains today. PBF, which I had in my weekend note, was one of our watch list names. I missed this name. I did not take this name, but look, up 4.9%, right? So again, I'm just kind of reiterating a couple things here, but if you could have a couple of these names that are showing relative strength in the energy group, in the industrial group, in the steel group, right? I think that you're going to find that you're not narrowing your focus. You're actually widening it, right? Because the energy group is going very well. Also, the banks are doing extremely well too, which I'll tell you, banks are not my favorite group to trade, but look at JP Morgan coming out to new highs. Here's how I traded today. Again, I think I'm the only one who does this, who will show you their trades, right? And that's what we do at Tribeca Trade Group. We're completely transparent. It's none of this nonsense that I see some people do. And when a stock goes up, well, we wrote about it 3 months ago. Who does that help? I could write notes too and tell you that I wrote about him 3 months ago. That doesn't help anybody, right? Do you have a position in it or do you don't have a position in it, right? Enough with the BS. So SMCI, so again, it's a lot easier to just call things after the fact, right? But this is a position that I did get long, and I was a little late on this thing. I bought this thing on the gap up day. I've had it again in my long-term account, TTG trend portfolio, but in my trading account, I actually chased this thing up a little bit, but I thought it could possibly move because the stock didn't do anything for about almost 6 months, right? So today I got rid of it in my trading account today. I took profits in this thing today, and I was taking profits on the whole way up. But 403, right? That's not at that day. I had a lot of people who were kind of probably scratching their heads saying, how could you buy it at 403? Well, today I got rid of it at 550 and 522, right? And again, it's tough when names gap up like that and you feel like, hey, you weren't early in the name. Just starting a position, having something, helps. I think, you don't have to, in my opinion, you don't have to go large, right? You go in size that you're comfortable with, right? And that you can be nimble in, right? STLD, this was a new name for me. A new name, but an old name. Again, this is also in the TTG trend portfolio. I'd like to have a name or two in each group that is a go-to name for me. So when I saw the Nucor results, I immediately kind of went into this STLD. So this was a nice mover today, up 4.8%. I will be trying to take profits at 124. That also lines up with a VPOC. That's close. It almost took out that 1 hour VPOC. That's another place that instead of if you don't want to wait for 124, you can maybe try to take some profits there. But yes, I was a seller. I also sold this VRT position. I just put this on yesterday, but I just thought it was a gimme to kind of take this trade off ahead of all these tech earnings. I did add to STNE. ICE, which was a name that was mentioned in the trading room. Again, just looking for something a little bit different, but kind of I like these names that go sideways like this in an uptrend and then resolve higher. So I was able to take my first target in that one. Costco, which has been, it's continues to work in terms of buying dips in this name out to new highs, closed at 700. It hit a high of 702. I'm holding my last piece. I added right in here, right on the dip. I figured 4 red candles with the backstop of the 20-day moving average was a place for me to get involved in that name. And other than that, I just kind of trimmed some positions. I put on a little ELF position. This name's Whippy. So I did not go in big to this name. And plus, don't forget, we have the Fed meeting tomorrow. So you kind of have to think about that. I get a lot of questions about, hey, what do you do to prepare for FOMC? I worry about my risk, right? And I trim positions, right? I make sure that my portfolio, that I can be very nimble, right? And I can be quick to react. Sometimes the more positions that you have on, just the more things that you've got to manage. And you want to make the Fed days as easy as possible. Remember, you control all of these things, right? You can control how much risk you want to take, how big your positions is, how many number of positions, right? If you want to keep it simple, just dial down your risk, right? And then you're in control, right? And you can move and adjust, depending on what the headlines are and the moves that we're going to see tomorrow. All right, guys, have a great night. Nice little trading day today, as well as nice week so far. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.